Hey everybody, Card Bandit here. Let's talk about the Anaconda. So the Anaconda is essentially a very long dribble, and it was created by Bone Ho. I'll also leave a link in the description to a video by him. Also, the Virts showed me a little bit as to how the movement goes, so I can leave some links in the description as to some of their videos. And the Russian Genius, I'll leave a link on his video, because he did a good video on the advanced dribble, and he did an Anaconda in that video, which helped me learn this move as well. So I'll just leave those for your discretion, so you guys can check those out and maybe have additional resources. So let's talk about first how you're going to position your hand, because that's pretty essential for the Anaconda. You usually have a dribble position, guys, but it's a little bit altered. Essentially, you have these three fingers on front. You don't want them curled too far over the edge, otherwise the cards will actually grip too much and they'll flip over when you do the flourish. And you want to make sure your pinky is actually contacting this corner so that the cards will go straight up and down instead of coming off at an angle. So make sure your pinky's on that corner. Some people like to have their pinky along the side. I don't, for the same reason. It grips the cards too much. But if you find that works for you and you're still able to get a larger Anaconda, it's just a different hand position, and if it works for you, feel free, but I like to use this one. The index finger will come along the side of the deck, usually in the middle, and as you're dribbling the cards, it'll slide a little bit along, which will end up having these fingers splay out a little bit, which is key for the Anaconda, so those cards aren't gripped. The thumb is along the back of the deck, like so. A thing to keep in mind about the thumb, though, guys, is that you don't want this part of the thumb contacting the deck. So this part of the thumb has to be over this corner. What I was finding was sometimes my thumb would be contacting this corner, and as I drop the cards at the end of the flourish, they'd go everywhere because of that contact with the thumb on that corner. So just make sure that your thumb comes across, hits that edge, and then is over top, if you're doing this with your right hand. Obviously, it would be the opposite for the left hand. Alright, so that's pretty much your hand position. The receiving hand, what you're going to want to do is extend the pinky like so, maybe bring it in a little bit, and then have the other fingers splayed out in sort of like a claw position, so when you're dropping the cards, you're aiming for the cards to end up against the pinky finger. It doesn't always happen, but that's where you're trying to aim for. The next thing you're going to want is a smooth dribble. So you want to try and go one card at a time through the whole deck, just so you know you have good thumb control, and then you can speed that up. So one or two cards through the whole deck. And if you have three cards, like what I would do is if I ended up getting three cards while I was dribbling, I'd start the whole thing over until I could get one or two cards through the whole deck as I was dropping it, because it would create a smoother dribble, and then I'd just speed it up once I knew I could actually have good control over the dribble, because a smooth dribble is actually really key for the Anaconda flourish. Okay, so once you've got a smooth dribble, I practiced sitting down, so what I would do is I'd practice like so in my chair, and then I'd practice the dribble and bringing it up. Now you may start a little bit, small, but this is how I would practice, so I could see whether the cards were going vertical or not. You essentially pull your hands straight up to try and get those cards vertical as you dribble. And you don't need additional pressure for this. Maybe a little bit when you're doing larger Anacondas, but for something that comes up to like there or whatnot, you're not going to need a whole lot of pressure for that flourish. The other thing you want to keep in mind is the position of your elbow. In a regular dribble, your elbow might be down to the side and you're just dribbling like so. With the Anaconda, it usually helps if it's parallel to the ground, and then you can bring it up, which is what I like to do. It ensures that I go straight up and down instead of going off to the side, which also screws up the flourish. So by sitting down and just getting the cards into the lap, I was able to just judge whether it was going up and down straight. You may do this on a bed or something as well, but like this is what I would do, and I just go straight up and down into my lap. And then analyze whether something went wrong, and try and change it without, standing up and getting the cards all over the place. Then I would add in the lower hand, so instead of just letting the cards go into my lap, I'd add in the lower hand and sort of get a feel for going up and down and dropping the cards into the lower hand. Then I would practice the timing. So in order to practice the timing, I'd stand up and practice over top of a bed or something like that, and I'll show you the timing for the Anaconda. Essentially, you start the dribble like so. Your lower hand isn't contacting the deck, it's a little bit lower like so. Then what you do is you drop, as you start the dribble, you drop this hand down just below your waist, and this hand comes up at the same time. So you start like this, you drop the cards, this hand comes down even further as this hand comes up, and then you finish off by raising this hand as high as you can go. So you don't have as much lower motion with this hand, and this hand goes up further, which is why it was important to practice in the lap getting this hand way up. At the top of the flourish, this is something that I just recently discovered that may help you. At the top of the flourish, you can let your hand go vertical and have the cards slide down instead of holding on to those last few cards. I found that this gives me a smoother flourish at the top, and it allows the cards to slide off the hand instead of getting caught by the fingers, and it ensures that the last few cards don't get caught and splay all over the place. So I'll try and show you what I mean here. So I wouldn't practice that to start with. I'd practice just the regular dribble up and down, coming back down, and then try that whole motion, that up and down motion, sort of like you're painting something after you're more used to the flourish. But I found it helped at the top of the flourish just to make it smoother. So you want to be practicing this over a bed, guys. You don't want to be like practicing it over the floor because the cards will go everywhere. So just keep in mind that that's a useful metric to use. You don't want to be practicing over the floor and having to pick up the cards all over the time, because that can be hard on the back. And don't be afraid to try and take the flourish higher. You're going to start off small, obviously, but don't be afraid to get higher. Just roll with it. If you hesitate, you're going to the flourish isn't going to be smooth, and smooth is the key to the flourish. Not pressure or anything like that, just a smooth dribble, and the timing as well, which you're going to have to play around with a little bit in order to get used to the flourish. And just practice and practice and practice. I've been doing this for about a week now, and I can get my Anaconda pretty high, about 60 centimeters. So anyway, guys, that's pretty much all I had for the Anaconda. If you have any questions, feel free to leave it in the comment section below, and I will catch you later.